Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to take a grand tour of one of the most geographically diverse countries on the entire planet, India. We're going to explore how this one nation holds lands that are, believe it or not, some of the planet's youngest and its most ancient, all at the same time. So before we jump in, just think for a second about where you live. What do you see when you look outside? Is it flat plains, rolling hills, maybe a coastline? Now, I want you to imagine a single country that has pretty much every major physical feature you can think of. Towering mountains, endless plains, vast deserts, ancient plateaus, and tropical islands. That, right there, is the incredible story of India. And what's so fascinating is the geology behind all this. It's really a tale of two extremes. Up in the north, you have the Himalayas and the northern plains. Geologically speaking, they're the new kids on the block. They're young, they're still shifting around. But then you go south and you find the Peninsular Plateau, which is one of the oldest, most stable chunks of land on Earth. And that contrast, that tension between the new and the ancient, is the key to understanding everything about India's geography. Okay, so here's our game plan for this tour. We're going to start up high in the Himalayas, travel down through the Great Plains, explore that ancient plateau, and then check out the deserts, coasts, and islands to see how this whole amazing puzzle fits together. All right, let's kick things off with the absolute titans, the Himalayas. Now, these are geologically young mountains, and they're what we call fold mountains. I mean, they were literally formed by unbelievable pressure, squishing and folding the Earth's crust upwards. They form this immense, rugged wall across the top of India. And when I say immense, I mean it. The Himalayas stretch in an arc for 2,400 kilometers. To put that in perspective, that's about the distance from London to Moscow. And their width changes a lot, too. They're about 400 kilometers wide up in Kashmir, but slimmed down to about 150 kilometers in the east. But here's the thing. The Himalayas aren't just one big wall of rock. No, they're actually made of three distinct ranges running parallel to each other. It's like three massive waves of stone, one after another. So let's break them down, starting from the very top. First, you've got the Himadri, also known as the Great Himalayas. This is the northernmost range, the backbone of the whole system. It's an almost unbroken wall of granite, with an average height of a staggering 6,000 meters. It's always covered in snow, and this is where you'll find all the heavy hitters, all the most famous sky-high Himalayan peaks. And just look at these numbers. It's just mind-boggling. Of course, Mount Everest, the world's highest, is in Nepal. But India has its own giants, like Kanchenjunga and Nanga Parbat, both soaring way past the 8,000-meter mark. We're talking about the roof of the world right here. Okay, moving south of the Great Peaks, we get to the next range, the Himachal, or the Lesser Himalaya. It's not quite as high, but this is the part you might be more familiar with. It's famous for its absolutely stunning valleys. We're talking Kashmir, Kangra, and Kulu, and all those popular hill stations that people flock to. Now, all that ice and snow on those massive mountains has to go somewhere, right? It melts, forms rivers, and those rivers, over millions of years, created our next stop, the Great Northern Plains, which is truly the cradle of Indian civilization. These plains are the handiwork of three gigantic river systems, the Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra. As these rivers tumbled down from the mountains, they carried with them tons of fine, rich silt. It's called alluvium. They dropped all that soil into a huge basin, and bit by bit created this incredibly vast, flat, and fertile plain. It's no wonder it's one of the most densely populated places on Earth. And here's a cool little language lesson for you. The geography is literally baked into the words people use. The word Doab comes from du meaning two and ab meaning water. So it's the land between two waters, or two rivers. Same logic applies to Punjab. Punj is 5, Ab is water, the land of 5 rivers. Pretty neat, right? Now, not all this river soil is created equal. There are two main types you need to know about. The Bangar is the older stuff. It's found a little higher up, like a terrace, above the area that floods every year. But the Khadar is the newer, younger soil right in the floodplains. It gets a fresh deposit of silt almost every single year, which makes it unbelievably fertile and absolutely perfect for farming. Okay, from the young, fertile plains, we're going to travel south to the absolute geological heart of India. We're talking about the Peninsular Plateau. And this place is the complete opposite of the Himalayas. It's ancient, it's stable, and it has been around for an unimaginable amount of time. What we have here is a massive tableland made of old, hard rocks, crystalline, igneous, metamorphic. You don't see sharp, jagged peaks here. Nope. Eons of erosion have smoothed everything down, creating broad, shallow valleys and soft, rounded hills. This land was actually part of the ancient supercontinent of Gondwana, making it one of the oldest land masses on the entire planet. Now, the edges of this giant plateau are marked by two mountain ranges, the Western and Eastern Ghats. On the west, you have the Western Ghats. They're higher and they're a continuous chain. They're responsible for what's called orographic rain. That's just a fancy way of saying they force the wet monsoon winds from the sea to rise up, cool down, and dump all their rain. The Eastern Ghats, on the other hand, are lower, and they're broken up into irregular chunks by the big rivers flowing out to the Bay of Bengal. And that difference in height is pretty serious. Just to put a number on it, the highest peak in the Western Ghats, Anaimudi, clocks in at almost 2,700 meters. The highest peak over in the Eastern Ghats, Mahendragiri, is just over 1,500 meters. So a huge difference. All right, we've covered the mountains, the plains, and the ancient plateau. Now let's head out to the edges of the subcontinent, the dry desert and the green coastal plains. Over to the west, you find the Indian Desert. It's a classic sandy plain, super arid with very little rain. It's famous for these beautiful crescent-shaped sand dunes called barchans. Then, wrapping around the entire southern peninsula are the coastal plains. And again, they're different on each side. The west coast has a narrow strip of land, while the east coast has a much wider plain with huge river deltas. And for the final stop on our grand tour, we're actually going to leave the mainland and head out into the ocean to explore India's two very different groups of islands. So, in the Arabian Sea, you have the Lakshadweep Islands. These are tiny little islands made of coral. They're beautiful, but the whole group only covers about 32 square kilometers. Then, way over in the Bay of Bengal, you have the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and these are something else entirely. They're much bigger, there are more of them, and they aren't made of coral. They are actually the peaks of a massive underwater mountain range that have poked up above the sea. And that volcanic origin leads us to one last amazing little fact. India has only one active volcano, and you can find it right here, on Barren Island in the Andamans. It's a powerful reminder that the geological forces that built this incredible subcontinent are still very much at work today. So, after this whirlwind tour, what's the big idea? What's the main takeaway? It's really this concept of complementarity. Every single one of these diverse regions supports the others. The mountains provide the water. The plains, fed by that water, act as the country's granaries, growing all the food. And the ancient plateau? It's a treasure chest, a storehouse of minerals that fuel industry. Each part makes the whole country richer and stronger. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. The vast, diverse geography of India shapes absolutely everything. So the question I'll leave you with is this. How does the land right under your feet, whether it's a mountain, a plain, or a coast, shape your life and your community? It's something worth thinking about. Thanks so much for joining me.